Hello and welcome. This video is going to be a what sold video. So everything that sold for me on all the platforms that I actually had sales on for the end of September. So that's September 22nd to September 30th. If you're new here, I am Heroin Bob. That's what I go by on the internet. It's my roller derby name. You could just call me Bob. That's honestly the easiest thing to call me if you're trying to get my attention in public. So that's just what I go by here. We're going to start with my lowest performing platforms first and then work my way up to eBay because eBay is my main bay. You will see a tail down at the bottom of this camera, and that is Miss Moxie, who is codependent and will not leave me alone. So just letting you know, I don't have a tail, but my cat does, obviously. All right, we're gonna go over here first, move Miss Moxie so my butt doesn't boot her off. And the first sale I have to share with you, and the only sale I made on Etsy during this time period, is this vintage Christian Dior tie. I love selling ties. I can get them, as long as I can get them for $4 or less. I prefer $2 or less for most of my ties, but certain styles and brands and vintage I will pay more than $2 for. This I actually only paid $2 for, and I picked it up because it was an interesting floral pattern, and I only sold it for $15. The additional $5.41 that you see up here is for shipping and for taxes as well. We're gonna switch over to Poshmark. Miss Moxie again is going to say hello. And this is a bundle sale, and this went out to a lovely viewer, Dot, who has just been an amazing light and sends me really nice messages when she does buy stuff, and then also likes to leave some lovely comments. So thank you very much. I'm going to thank her again because she bought this bundle and then bought something on eBay like 2 days later, and I already shipped this out, and I feel kind of bad that I wasn't able to save you the shipping for the eBay sale, but that's what I get for being diligent in my shipping. She bought two, well, technically three mugs. So this new coffee lover mug that I actually got as a gift, and I didn't like it. so I just put it up for sale. It's not that I didn't like it. It's a great mug. It's just that I have a girthy coffee mug collection, mostly because I don't really have feeling in my hands. So I prefer to drink out of mugs because it's less likely for me to drop and break something. That's more information probably than you care to know. But I also sold her a set of Starbucks coffee mugs. They had the Siren, Mermaid, whatever you want to call her, and it was a nice set of two, and they were the larger ones. So I hope that you got them and that you love them. And again, Dorothy, thank you very much for purchasing from me. And now we're gonna go into eBay, and here's Ms. Moxie again, and I'll give you guys a close-up of her. Look at, why does she always look pissed off when I do this? She's not. She's perfectly happy. I guess it's just maybe she doesn't like being picked up, and that's not even true. If I pick her up and pet her, she just does all the purrs. So, I don't know. Maybe she just has RBF. All right. So, I also really love selling vintage, and I do post vintage literally everywhere, Etsy, eBay, and also on Poshmark. And I've been selling it on eBay actually pretty well. I'm trying to get this huge vintage haul listed, and this sold pretty much within 48 hours of listing it, which is amazing for a vintage piece. This is from the 70s. It's personal, which is actually, I think, a division of Leslie Fay, like a vintage division of Leslie Fay. And this was a beautiful green top. It had a Peter Pan scalloped collar, and it also came with a matching tie, which I just tied into a pussy bow, which you see here. Super cute piece. It's 100% polyester, or I would have been tempted to keep it, but didn't. And it sold for $17, and the buyer paid $4.50. And as I mentioned before, anything I sell from this huge vintage haul is 100% profit because I've already paid myself back for that already on Whatnot. So awesome. This is a Lucky Brand medium flannel. Again, another piece that I was hoping I could wear this fall, but normally when that happens, if I list it, it'll sell before I get to it. So it sold for $12.64, and the buyer paid for shipping, and that is because I sent out an offer and someone accepted it. So I normally send out either 15 or 20% offers. It just depends on how long the piece has been in my store. But that actually took like a couple months to sell, so no big deal. This is something I picked up at the bins. We do actually have books at my bins, and that is what I hit up first when I go to the bins. I don't go anywhere else, just the books, because I've been able to make some really good money there. And this is one of those pieces. They're also really easy to list. I paid 50 cents for this because that's how much it costs for hardcovers at the bins, and it sold for $6.87, which was my full asking price, and the buyer paid for shipping. This is something I actually picked up at the retail Goodwill attached directly next to the bins. I paid $4.75. This is new old stock. This sold within 24 hours of me listing it for $15, and the buyer paid $5 for shipping. So I'm more than happy to make an easy $10 within 24 hours of one, buying it, and then also listing it. So I thought that was awesome. Okay, so this next piece is something I actually picked up at the CHKD near my house. I only paid $4 for this, and it sold within 24 hours of me listing it. This is sold for $20, and the buyer paid $5 for shipping. So this is great. I don't have a problem selling Free People, and I also just price it super reasonably. And this was very cute, and it was a large, which I actually have a hard time finding larger sizes in Free People, and from what I've seen from people that I watch on YouTube, that also seems to be super desirable as well, because it's a lot easier to find the smaller sizes. This is a belt that I had forever, so I will probably not pick this up again. I paid $4 for this at New to You, and it sold for $8.50 probably like a year and a half later. So again, not something I would necessarily pick up again. I did double my money, and the buyer also paid for shipping. You're gonna see this notebook again in this video, and that's because I actually found a giant, like a thick stack. I think I found about a dozen of these dot journal or bullet journals. So those of you that told me I should have also put bullet journal in the title, thank you very much. I completely forgot about that. But I actually found a bunch of these at the bins, and this was in like an old bin, so one that had been completely picked over, and no one had picked these up, and they were all brand new. And when I opened it up and saw that they were the dot journals, the bullet journals, I bought all of them that still looked new, like they hadn't gotten crunched from being in the bins and tossed around. And I bought them for 25 cents each because these are soft covers, and I've been selling them between $6 and $9.87 very consistently since I picked them up. So this was great. I wish I could find more stuff like this because that would make just listing and selling stuff a lot easier. It's very rare I find anything with multi-quantities. But it sold for my full asking price of $9.87, and the buyer paid $4 for shipping. So this is me thanking Dot again for buying this mug. This has United We Stand with the Twin Towers still in the background. This is, I don't know if this is a vintage mug that still had it, or if this was one of the mugs that was produced in remembrance of 9/11. I'm not 100% sure, so that's why I didn't put vintage in the title. But I bought this for $1. I thought it was really cool, and the mugs that I bought that she had purchased on Poshmark, the 2 Starbucks mugs, those are also purchased for $1. So I don't have a whole lot into this, and she bought this. I've had this for like 2.5 years. So again, Dorothy, thank you for buying this from me. And she bought it for $6.30 and paid $9 for shipping, because again, I shipped her Poshmark order before she purchased this one, so I couldn't include it in there. This is 100% free to me. This was sent to me by Michael, and it is a vintage 1960s floral scarf. I just put in all the keywords. It had no brand attached to it. I don't have an issue selling things without a brand, especially if it's vintage. It's just you gotta put all those keywords in it and take really good pictures, and it will still sell. So this was free. It sold for $4.87, and the buyer paid $4 for shipping. If that's too low for you of a margin, I understand. I have a grand love for vintage, and I want to try to keep as much vintage in circulation and out of the landfill as possible. So I'm more than happy to spend the time to list something like this, even if it has, well, it's 100% ROI because it cost me nothing. But even if it has a lower margin of profit, so like $4 or $5 or less, as the next case you'll see, I'm happy. So this is again also free to me. This is sent to me by Brett, who is a friend and viewer of the channel. He sent me an giant lot of ephemera, knowing that I love that kind of stuff. And I really need to list more of these. But this is a linen postcard from the 40s, and it is the Chrysler Building. And again, it was free to me. I sold it for $1.87 and charged $1 shipping because eBay, if you do not know, actually has something called eBay Standard Envelope, and that's specifically for shipping out postcards and also for shipping out collectible cards like Pokemon cards and other stuff at a lower rate than first class shipping, and still have tracking available, which is really great. So I someone could get this basically for about the same price they could have bought it at a newsstand new, like now currently. And it's much cooler because it's vintage. This is a Wu-Tang mug that made me so mad. So I saw this and I was like, absolutely, I'm picking this up for $1. And the reason I said it made me so mad is because this actually sold once before, right? Someone sent me an offer of $10, and then I do not do free shipping on my channel, right? I do not do free shipping on my eBay store, so you know, it was $10 for the item and then like $9.65 for shipping. And dude bro sends me a message like a day later, because he bought it over the weekend, and he was like, I wanted this $10 shipped. I didn't see how much shipping was. Like, can you just do a $10 shipped? And I said, no, I accepted the offer for $10 plus $9.65 shipping because it's a mug and it costs that much to ship it. He was like, well, I just think almost $10 is too much for shipping. I'm like, okay, I can cancel the order or I can send it to you now. You get to choose. He's like, $10 is too much for shipping. I'm like, okay. So I canceled the order and I blocked him. And then a week later, same bro messages me back saying that he wanted to buy the mug for $10 again, and he would pay me $5 for shipping. And I told him no. I said, and he sent the message because he couldn't buy from me because I blocked him. So I just said, no, you already had purchased this item from me and you decided that you didn't want to purchase it, and I am not interested in dealing with you. So I just could not believe he had the balls to like message me a week later and asking to buy it again for still less. But someone was more than willing to pay me full price for this and then also pay the almost $10 for shipping. Oh, well, it's $10.60 now for padded flat rate. Don't worry, I don't actually send this padded flat rate. It's just the easy way to have a set shipping price. But someone had no problem paying over $25 for this to have it shipped to them. And I'm so glad that I just blocked that person. I am definitely not afraid of doing the ban and block button at all. It's like, I know you're gonna be a problem. I don't want any business. I do not want to do any business with you. Another vintage piece. This is actually not from the huge vintage haul. This is I picked up from an estate sale that I didn't actually film. I paid 50 cents for this shirt. It's 100% silk and it's from the 90s. And again, I just put all of the keywords in there. Peony is actually the brand, but you know, it's a vintage Chinese brand. So I don't really think anybody's gonna be looking for that, but somebody bought this for my full asking price of $19.87. The buyer paid $5 for shipping. I love, again, selling vintage, and if it's silk, it's actually a lot easier to sell. I feel like that's one of those fabrics that people do look out for. This is something that my butt outgrew, so that is why I put it up for sale. I'm surprised it sold. It did have some distressing, because this is a pair of pants that I wore a lot until my butt outgrew it. This is a pair of Gap 27 4R. And these were the boot cut and corduroy. I have mentioned this again on the channel, but before on the channel, that corduroy and boot cut and flared legs are really in because of the 70s being really in. And that, I think, is what actually allowed me to sell this, despite the fact it is something that I had worn and apparently worn out a little bit. Sold for $9 and the buyers paid padded flat rate for shipping at $10.60. So another vintage piece. This I actually picked up at a DAV, or a Disabled American Veterans. I just call it the DAV because, well, it's easier. And I sold this, I paid $5 for this at the DAV, and it sold for $20, and the buyer paid padded flat rate for shipping because this was a larger size at a XL size, and it was also really heavy because it was a cashmere blend. So awesome. So this pair of Converse came to me in a ThredUp shoebox, and I was very surprised that this was the first pair from the box to actually sell because it was a size 6 and it's Converse. But it moved, and it moved quickly, and I think it's because they were also in really good shape. I did end up throwing these in the wash. I have like little ditty bags, so that way it doesn't like damage the shoe. I also do this on a hand wash setting because my washing machine has that. So the cost of goods in that ThredUp shoebox was roughly $6.50 a pair. So I doubled my money by selling these for $14, and the buyer paid for shipping. I'm really glad that these sold. I do hope that more from this box sells. Historically, the shoe boxes from ThredUp, which if you didn't watch that video, I will link it up above, have been the ones that have had the least amount of profit for me. So I'm hoping that this box will not be that. This is another vintage piece. This actually was damaged. There was a moth hole at the bottom of the hem, which I will show here. I am someone, especially if it's vintage, that is more than happy to do repairs and also to do a lot of stain treating. Again, because part of the reason why I love reselling and love being able to do this as a job is because of the fact that I am able to keep things out of the landfill and also preserve these historical pieces. But this is also just very beautiful, very vibrant. I bought this at a Goodwill near the boys' house for about $4. Sold for $17. Again, only paid $4 or $5 for this, so happy about that. And saved something from the trash. This is amazing to me. I actually listened to this CD, wanted to make sure there weren't any skips. This is pre-owned. It wasn't new sealed. But two, because I was just intrigued by it. This is a 90s, like, new wave, like, rock band. And I listened to it, and it wasn't really my jam. But I could see how it could be somebody's. This is very typical, like, early 90s kind of rock. And it sold what it looks like for $7, right? And the buyer paid, like, $3.50 for media mail. The buyer actually paid a total of, like, $41 for the CD because this actually got shipped via the global shipping program. So somebody wanted the CD enough to pay over $41 to have it shipped internationally to them. I personally don't think, based on my own musical taste, that it was worth that, but whoever got this, I hope they love it, and I hope it was very much worth it to them. I haven't gotten any returns, so we're just gonna hope it's good. But you'd be surprised. Some of these older CDs that people are still really into purchasing that. When I saw that sale come across, and then I saw like what that they had paid, and it was $41. I was just like, whoa. So this one looks a little bit different than the other eBay what solds I showed you because of the fact that this is a multi-quantity. So I already showed you this notebook before. My full asking price is $9.87, but I also have buy more save more turned on. So if they bought multiples of this, then based on how many they bought, it would be a percentage off, an increasing percentage off based on the quantity that they purchased. So they purchased 3 of these for a total of $29.61 actually like $7.40 was the total per item piece. And then they also paid, I think, $6 for shipping because I had it set for $4 for one, and then each additional would be $1. Again, 25 cents. So I paid a total of 75 cents for all 3 of these that went out, and I sold them for $29.61. Amazing profit. Again, I wish I could find more stuff like this at the bins. This is a vintage 90s Adidas jersey for the Nebraska Huskers. Sold for my full asking price of $19.87, and the buyer paid $5.50 for shipping, and I paid less than $1 for this at an estate sale at the Air Force Retirees estate sale, which again, there are a bunch of new of you here. I will link that up above, but that was an awesome estate sale. Another estate sale find and proof that even if something is thrashed, it can still sell. I picked these up for $4 at an estate sale, and as you can see, they are completely covered in paint. It had a hole in, it had like a couple little holes. So I just put thrashed and distressed in the title, and someone still bought it for $11.90, and the buyer paid shipping. The reason I went ahead and bought these is because the fact that she gave me a deal because I bought all of the jeans that were at this estate sale. So I had to buy all of them though. Still doubled my money. Still really happy about this. This is a vintage Umbro hoodie from the 90s, and Umbro I think is now currently sold at Target. So modern Umbro doesn't really carry the same weight as vintage Umbro, but if you do find vintage Umbro like at the bins or really inexpensive, I personally will still pick it up. I just don't pick up modern Umbro unless it's new with tags. It sold for $15 on an offer, and the buyer paid for padded flat rate for shipping. This is something I picked up at New to You for $1. It sold for my full asking price of $6.87, and the buyer paid $4 for shipping. I really love selling media, all types of media, because it is super easy to photograph and list. And if I get it for less than $1, amazing. This, again, another tie. I love selling ties. I love selling mugs and ties and pearl snaps and ephemera. which are things that most people don't seem to want to sell, but I do. And it's because ties in particular are lightweight, they're normally really cheap, and they don't take up any space in my inventory, and you cannot mess them up shipping. This sold for my full asking price of $9.87, and the buyer paid $4 for shipping. This was another amazing vintage sale, mostly because of the fact that I found these bandanas in a drawer at an estate sale. I paid a quarter for each of these. So I paid 50 cents for both of them, and I sold both of them for a total of $29.74. You see here that it shows that I refunded $4.32, and that is because of the fact that I refunded the shipping overage. These were like lightweight bandanas. They paid my flat rate shipping of $4 each, so I just went ahead and sent them the difference back in the shipping, because to me, I feel like that would entice the customer to come back, because I'm a trustworthy, like, honest seller. I mean, if you want to keep the shipping because that's your price, cool, you do you. But for me, I feel like this helps encourage people to maybe save my store and get repeat business, because I do actually have a lot of repeat buyers that are not viewers, which I know is not necessarily the case for a lot of eBay sellers, but it is true for me. And I think maybe doing something like that is the reason why. This I got for free from Ernie and Carolyn when Carolyn cleaned out her closet. So I went ahead and took an offer of $6, and the buyer paid $4 for shipping. I had originally put this on Whatnot for $1. Nobody bought it. So, and it was free. So I already had the photographs from listing this on Whatnot. So this is a super easy listing. And again, it was free. So everything I made from this is 100% profit. And then the last item I have to share with you from eBay is something I got at the bins. This is a pair of Under Armour XL leggings. So I paid less than $1 for this, and it sold for $5, and the buyer paid $4 for shipping. If I pick it up at the bins and I'm paying less than $1 for it, and it's been sitting for a while in my store, so I'm still making a really good margin. Most businesses, if you're selling something for, you know, 4 times what you paid for it, that's amazing. Would I like higher ASP? Absolutely, but as long as I'm making money, I'm pretty happy. But again, everybody runs their business differently. That's just how I run it. I hope your business is doing well, and I will hopefully see you in a couple days for another video. Till then.